Welcome everyone to the Endless Stories channel, where you will find with us the pleasure of listening to many interesting stories. If you like today's story,
do not forget to support us with the subscription and like button.
We leave you to listen to the story.
On a cold winter night,
Ahmed was sitting in his small room by the light of a dim candle. The weather outside was stormy,
and the wind was blowing against the window as if it was trying to break it.
Books were scattered around him, and his papers were filled with strange drawings and writings.
Weeks ago, Ahmed had begun to feel that there was something strange in his life.
Something he couldn't pinpoint, but that crept into his mind every night.
That night, while he was writing down his notes about a strange dream he heard a faint voice coming from behind him. He turned slowly, but he didn't see anything.
He tried to convince himself that it was just an illusion, but he heard the voice again, closer this time.
The voice was a whisper, as if someone was calling his name. Ahmed froze in place, feeling a shiver run through his body.
He slowly got up from his chair and started walking towards the source of the voice.
In the dark corner of the room, he saw something shining.
There was an old book, one he had never seen before, lying on the floor. He approached it cautiously and bent down to pick it up. When he opened the book, the pages were filled with strange letters.
But strangely enough, Ahmed could read them clearly.
Those words told an old story about a man with the same name,
Ahmed, but from a very long time ago.
The more Ahmed read,
the more the events
became intertwined between his life and the life of this man in the story.
The story was about an old mystery and a hidden treasure.
But there was a grave warning.
Whoever discovers the truth will meet an unknown fate. The moment he finished reading that sentence, the ground shook beneath him, and the candle fell from the table. The room was completely engulfed in darkness.
Ahmed felt a cold breath on his neck, and the whispering voice returned.
This time more clearly, Ahmed, the truth is near, but will you bear the price?
Ahmed felt fear creeping into his heart, but his curiosity overcame his fear. He felt that this book held the answers to all the questions that had been troubling him for the past weeks. He took the book in his hands and quickly left the room, heading towards the nearby library. He knew that there was an old expert in ancient languages working there, and perhaps he could help him interpret the mysterious words he had read.
When Ahmed arrived at the library, it was almost deserted. The dim light of the hanging lamps barely illuminated the place.
But he found the expert, an old man named Omran, sitting behind a table full of books. Ahmed walked towards him and told him about the mysterious book and what had happened to it. Omran looked at the book in astonishment, as if he had known it for a long time. He said in a deep voice, "This book should not be in your hands.
It has been cursed for hundreds of years. This book was written by an ancient magician who searched for the absolute truth,
but he met his death in a mysterious way. It is said that whoever reads it becomes part of an inevitable curse." Ahmed did not back down.
"I started the story," he said firmly. "I need to know the truth, even if it costs me dearly."
Omran sighed and motioned for Ahmed to sit down. He slowly turned the pages of the book, translating some strange symbols.
Over time, the story became clear. Ahmed from this era was nothing but a
reincarnation of the ancient man who sought the riddle.
Same soul, same destiny, but now was the last chance to break the curse.
Omran explained that the riddle required Ahmed to return to a specific place, an ancient cave on the outskirts of the city,
where the secrets of the past were buried. But he warned him, saying, "Beware, those who enter the cave may never come out.
There are spirits trapped, and a truth hidden in the shadows." Curiosity pushed Ahmed forward. He went to the cave that night, holding the book in his hand and his heart full of questions and fear. When he entered the cave, the shadows began to move around him as if welcoming him. Deep in the cave, he found an ancient room carved into the rocks.
In the middle of the room, there was a huge mirror. Ahmed approached the mirror and saw himself, but not as he was now.
He saw the image of the old man he had read about. Suddenly, the mirror began to crack, and whispering voices could be heard rising from the depths of the cave.
The spirits trapped inside were trying to communicate with him.
A voice behind him said, "You have reached the truth. Now you have a choice. Either leave the book and return to your normal life, or enter the mirror and face your fate." Ahmed, after a long internal struggle, decided to enter. When he passed through the mirror, he found himself in a different world, a world full of shadows and secrets.
In that world, he realized that the truth was more complex than he had imagined.
He had to face himself and his past to complete the journey, but he knew that this journey would never end. He had become part of the same puzzle,
trapped in an endless cycle of searching for the truth. And so, Ahmed realized that some truths are not meant to be known, and that the price paid by those who pursue them could be eternal. And now we have reached the end of our story. We hope that you liked the story.
We remind you again that if you are not subscribed to the channel,
subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all that is new.
Until we meet again in a new interesting story.